The Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Real Doctor Who fans with real Doctor Who opinions.
Hello and welcome to the Doctor Alhambra Podcast, episode 325 of the podcast. I am Brett, going yet again on a solo edition of the podcast. Solo but not forgotten, as my friends, my co-hosts in crime, Liam.
Hello.
Humphrey.
Hello.
And
I, of course, am Legion.
Are not with me on the podcast today, but again, not far from my mind. I cannot wait to once again reconvene and go over the podcast and have laughter and love and share some frustration with all things Doctor Who, from Big Finish to audiobooks to New Who and beyond. Today's podcast is a special episode as I delve into the timeless adventures of William Russell, who portrayed the iconic Ian Chesterton. Yes, join me as I explore the standout episodes that showcase Russell's talent and leave an incredible, that's another word I can't read, mark on the Whovian universe. From the historical escapades to the science fiction thrilling mysteries, Russell's performance have always kept the fans spellbound. So grab your sonic screwdriver and hop into the TARDIS, and let's embark on a journey through time and space with the incomparable William Russell. All right, so William Russell, just to, look at what we're looking at. So again, I do like lists. I do like top 10s. I have not created my own top 10 list because I think that I didn't realize until I was doing this list kind of where essentially my holes in at least viewing are. Notice I didn't say holes in listening, holes in viewing. And I feel ashamed that, as we are celebrating the life and career of William Russell at portraying Ian Chesterton, some of these stories that have been out for over around 60 years, 59 or so to, round down. I have not checked out a lot of them. And it's not because I think mainly because as I was looking at it, is the First Doctor was really hard for me to get into on the television. However, that being said, the best way to get into the First Doctor is through the audio dramas, through the Big Finish Companion Chronicles. I formed a love with him between some of the William Russell Companion Chronicles and the other Peter Purves ones. So I feel as though I got to understand and appreciate the Doctor a little bit more through the audio medium, through the kind of, early 2000s, 2010s writing, showed more of who he could be compared to what we were given on TV. So I struggled to make my own list. So I do have a top 10 list from the timescales. However, the top 10 list, because of some, ties in votings and rankings or whatever, I believe this is probably like a top 16 list. So, one of Liam's lists. So that being said, we are going to be looking at all of the all the television adventures dating from the Unearthly Child to the departure in The Chase. So, and then of course we have hit from the first appearance, and I didn't include this because it wasn't Ian Chesterton, but William Russell's first appearance was in the monthly adventures, The Main Range, The Game, which, I think I need to re-listen to that, but, that dated back into 2005. And then, of course, the first companion chronicle that he did, The Transit of Venus, all the way up to his last appearance, which is one of Liam's favorite, which is Susan's War, which I still have yet to listen to. But that's a me problem right there. So that being said, here is here is the Timescales top 10 best episodes featuring William Russell as Ian Chesterton. And just keep in mind, there is more than 10. I'm going to break down as many as I can and show my love for the actor, for the character. As I think this is. I think this is gonna be fun. I'm a list guy. I love my lists. So, yeah. All right. So number 10. Actually, no, I'll do that at the very end. All right. Number 10 is A Lost Story. And one of my favorite things about this is the mixture of audios and classic TV shows. On the list that I found from the timescales, I chose not to include any of the books because there just wasn't enough voting for the books, as well as any of the comics as well, too. It was only the TV stuff and also only the, what is it called? The audio dramas. So, number 10 with a rating of 7.4 is The Yellow Fragrance. Let me just get that. The Yellow Fragrance, the Fragile Yellow Arc of Fragrance. Now, this is not a Ian Chesterton centric story. This is a Barbara story, but I'm just looking at all of the episodes that feature Ian Chesterton in it, played by William Russell, and this is a companion chronicles. I think it is a very strong. It's. I can't remember how long it is. Let's see if I pull this up. It doesn't say how long it is on the timescales, but I feel as though it's even shorter than a lot of the 1 hour companion chronicles. It's very brief, but I feel as though it was, when I listened to it, it was super strong. I believe this was written by David Whitaker, or possibly. Anyway, I like its presence on there. It's not a long story. It's not the best story, but it does deserve to land on the top 10 list. I think if you have not listened to it, I strongly recommend that you pick up the First Doctor Lost Stories box 1. Yeah, because I like the other story actually even more than this story that is featured on there, and it could be on the top 10 list, or it's not, or maybe it's one of the honorable mentions. But the Fragile Yellow Arc of Fragrance is number 10. Number 9 is I'm surprised at how high this one is, because I've listened to Doctor Who podcasts of fans of it, and this one is at times the harder one to get into as you look at all the things that William Russell appeared in, revolving around his classic appearances. You would think, I'm pretty sure Liam would be like, where's the sense rights? Yeah, not on the list. So I can say that because Liam's not here and he'd be wondering where it's at. I'm actually kind of surprised that the Web Planet is not on there either. So that being said, number 9 on the top 10 best episodes featuring William Russell playing Ian Chesterton is The Keys of Marinus. Yeah, I think that's a very interesting pick, or at least, voted on. Sorry, I was going to say I believe. It has a audience score of 7.5 out of 10. So yeah, just amazing that it's on there. There's a couple others that I would think that would be on there. Keys of Marinus, 6-part story. I think, to me, the best part about the Keys of Marinus is the creation of the Vord. It was one of those villains that, you almost wish that they would reappear eventually. They did in Big Finish audio dramas, but at least on the big screen, RTD Part 2, do something about the Vord. But currently we are on humanity bad or people bad type of storyline, continuing on with the Chris Chibnall era, where people bad. We just can't have bad guys fighting, or villains being defeated by, or just some dastardly person being defeated by the Doctor. That's what my brain wanted to say. Anyway, number 8. So we're back to the Big Finish. And this one is so great that it is right here. I love that it is right here because, like I said, number 9 was Keys of Bareness. Number 8 with a score of 7.7, Domain of the Vord. It's so great that they're both back to back like that, as both villains are right there. Again, this one was released, I believe, in like 2015 or so. Um, I I I I like this one. I wish it was a tad bit different, but I still think it is a fun adventure. I think that, using some of these keys of Marinus, and at least within this story, it makes you want to re-listen to certain things, the sense rights, to kind of get like the whole psychic aspect of everything, transitioning to a couple of other things such as the transit of Venus, and then of course returning to the return to Skaro, which is I don't think it's a William Russell appearance, but I did like the early adventures. This I think this is the first season of the early adventures were the only ones with. I believe it's the only ones with Ian Chesterton and whatnot, because after that we get into Jamie and Zoe, and then we have Jamie, Ben, and Polly. So, yeah, kind of sad that we only had one kind of go around with the original crew of the TARDIS. So, that being said, again, I do recommend Domain of the Vord. I did personally enjoy it. I think that there's some that are on my list that are a tad bit higher. Speaking of that, I'm going to go up to number 7, and there is a 3-way tie because all of these have a score of 7.8, and I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. So they all have the word "the" in them. So the first on the list for number 7 with a rating of 7.8 is the Daleks. Yeah, the classic TV show, The Daleks, the show that basically saved Doctor Who from just being a weird, obscure science fiction show that maybe could have survived the purge. It'd be interesting to figure out if the purge of the archives would have been the same, or if it would have been worse had Doctor Who not existed. Because, you have, what's his face? Ian Levine, that supposedly was stopping a couple of pallets of Doctor Who stuff at the time that he came in from and being prevented from being destroyed right then there on the spot. So it'd be kind of interesting to figure out, without Doctor Who's existence, would the purge of the BBC archives have been even more horrendous than it actually was? I don't know. Interesting story. The Daleks, I'm very intrigued. I just barely bought on Amazon the colorized version of it. I cannot wait to look through it. I'm not sure what the special features are, but it was recommended to me as something that I might like to purchase, which was almost like of course I would. And also, so not only is it colorized, but not the whole thing. Not all 7 episodes are colorized. I want to say it's about like 30, 40 minutes of it or so are colorized, maybe. And then I'm curious what the special features are. I'm a special feature snob, so I'm really looking forward to that too. But Doctor Who and the Daleks is one of the number 7s. Coming up next as one of the number 7s, again with a 7.8, is The Flames of Cadiz. Now, this is a companion chronicles. Let's see. And this is about the TARDIS materializing in Spain in the late 16th century. The country is at war with England, and the time travelers find themselves on the wrong side of the battle lines. When Ian and his new friend Esteban are captured by the Inquisitors, the Doctor, Susan, and Barbara plan to rescue them. But these are dark times in human history, and heretics face certain death. So I basically own physically every single one of the Peter Purves and most of the William Russell First Doctor stories on CD. Now they are no longer available, but these ones are fantastic. I do strongly recommend the Companion Chronicles. Like I said, these are what really got me into the First Doctor, not the TV series itself, but the actual audio dramas. So I strongly recommend The Flames of Cadiz for this. And also at number 7, also a audio drama, which is The Time Museum. And I feel as though The Time Museum is one of those, I remember listening to it, and I was not particularly enamored with it. So this is season 7 of the Companion Chronicles. It's, the synopsis is, this is Ian Chesterton. This is the Chesterton exhibit, a series of breathtaking, faithful tableaus, painstakingly detailed to the nth degree, dedicated to the life of the most extraordinary time traveler, Ian Chesterton. Ian finds himself in a shrine to his own past and on the run from a man named Peladon. From Coal Hill Schools to Jobus Station, from Totter's Lane to the Crusades, Ian's history is unfolding. And a confrontation with a deadly enemy with a voracious, another word I can't read, appetite awaits. So, and one of my favorite things about the timescales is it always gives you it gives you, when you rate these, do you need to have listened to other stories before listening to this or not? And as 11 out of the 28 people who rated this or wrote their reviews said that there is required listening or viewing to enjoy this. I think it's a good story. It doesn't do a good job of explaining things if you didn't know. I feel as though, from what I remember, is you can listen to it without having listened to some of the audio dramas. It just gives you a shout out. It's just like, oh, okay, I remember that. That's okay. Oh, look, there. I think there's the space pirates right there. So I think it's a fantastic story written by James Goss, who is for me one of the better writers from Big Finish, who I'm not sure has contributed much lately. But yeah, that is all of the number 7. So 7.8, going up the list to number 6 of the 10 best episodes William Russell appeared in as Ian Chesterton is, and this is a twofer right here, so I'm going to go in alphabetical order with 7.9 rating. Oh, Liam would be very excited for this. This is The Five Companions. Now, The Five Companions, I find, is a fantastic story because, I like the origin of this. This is written by Eddie Robson. It was basically like, what happened to some of the companions that did not appear in the 5 Doctors? Well, they were time scooped out here, and the 5th Doctor, after, vanquishing the Master and whatnot in the 5 Doctors, gets time scooped and pulled here. And it's a really nice story. I think it is. I think it does a really good job of various things. I do disagree. I wish that Jean Marsh, I understand Jean Marsh's inclusion, but I think it also doesn't work too. I like that it is, Peter Davison reunited with his current companion, Peter Davison, the Doctor, with Nyssa, being reunited with William Russell, which is a beautiful, bump into. You have William Russell, Ian Chesterton. And then you have Peter Purvis's character, who basically is just like, I can't believe you left me behind. And, it's sitting there talking to him, 2 different actors talking to him or whatnot. We do have Annika Wills, who has a really strong moment right there as Polly. And then, of course, you have Jean Marsh. The struggle with Jean Marsh is at this time, and one of the things that you do have to know about listening to this is, yes, she is dead. She died, her character died in the Dalek master plan, but there was a intelligent house that copied her at one point in time, and this is the copy of her, like an echo memory. So I like that. It's a good story. I just kind of disagree with Jean Marsh's being in her character being put in there. But yeah, that's not a heavy criticism. It's just I would have preferred somebody else who wasn't there. Also, number 6 on the best top 10 or the top 10 best episodes of William Russell as Ian Chesterton is The Library of Alexandria. Now, this is one of my favorite ones because this one basically, you have the Alexandria Library. Ian, Barbara, Susan, and the Doctor have been taking a break from their travels and enjoy a week of sunshine and a chance at the appreciation of the magnificent Library of Alexandria. Ian kind of has a girl that falls in love with him, and it kind of continues on with like a possible love story between him and Barbara. But the interesting thing is they start listing off like all the things that could have happened to the Library of Alexandria, and then of course, oh yeah, and could be like a big gigantic squid, but no one believes that. And then the cliffhanger at the very end of the first episode is tentacles coming out of the ocean as a big giant squid starts destroying the Alexandria Library. I really enjoy that. I think it's one of my favorite companion chronicles featuring Ian Chesterton. Number 5, we finally have gotten back to where there's only one episode per number. Don't worry, it doesn't do that for that long. Number 5 is The Dalek Invasion of Earth with an 8.1. Now, this is a good episode. I think I've rewatched the colorized version. I can't think of the name. I wish Liam, Legion, and Humphrey was here to help correct me. But I've rewatched that one more recently than this one. Again, 7 episodes. Is it 7 or 6? It's just, some of these early things are just so... 1, World's End, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, 6 episodes long. I wish they could consolidate some of them. It's not that I don't like the show. It's just that, when you know that you're going to sit down and just watch it, it can get a little bit, maybe I'll do something else. But maybe I just need to start watching it differently, like maybe 1 episode a night or so. I don't know. But Dalek Invasion of Earth, no Chase is on this list. I'll give you a hint for that. But I don't know. Would I replace that? No. No, the Dalek Invasion of Earth is a stronger story than The Chase. The Chase might be a little bit more lighthearted. But yeah. All right, number 4. All right, going in alphabetical order, there is 2 episodes that are number 4 as voted on by the fans by the time scales. And going in alphabetical order, The Romans, which I watched like once a long, long time ago. I need to probably rewatch that. Yeah, it is a quick 2-parter, a 1 hour. No, sorry. I got that mixed up with The Rescue. Is a 4-parter story written by directed by Christopher Barry, written by Dennis Spooner, who is one of my favorite writers. He was one of the ones that helped write the Dalek Master Plan. I really find Dennis Spooner's writing really good. I wish he would have done a little bit more for the classic show. Again, if you want to, early on in our episodes around the 90s and early hundreds of the Dr. Alhambra podcast, we would do era comparisons. Strongly recommend listen to those. I'll probably link those in I don't know how to do that, but because people listen to them on all sorts of different platforms, and generally, I don't know, I just kind of, because I'm a Apple podcast listener, that's where I link them up to. But anyway, I'll just kind of throw some of those out. I do like the air comparisons. I think they're a fun podcast that we did early on in the early hundreds of our podcast. Kind of went away from them also because we were struggling to come up with a variety of comparisons because, you do the big ones and then all you have is the little ones later, and you're worried that nobody wants to listen to the little ones. Anyway, that's besides the point. So the Romans, number 4, following number 4 is the transit of Venus. Now, I like the transit of Venus. I think it's a fun companion chronicle. It takes place in 1770 with Captain James Cook. I find the Flames of Cadiz as well as the Library of Alexandria to be a tad bit better. This is written by Jacqueline Rainier, who is a fantastic writer. I have nothing against it. I prefer the other two more, but you know what? Everybody's taste is their own. Also at number 3. Okay, not also at number 3. We just barely finished with number 4. Number 3 as the top 10 best episodes featuring William Russell as Ian Chesterton. Going in alphabetical order. Well, yeah. If you listen, a long time listener to the podcast, I think you are probably aware of the episode that I'm about to read. I think I don't like it. I like a episode that from the Lost episode stories more than this one. I think it's down the same vein, but I think the Lost episode is a little bit more enjoyable than this one. But this one is beloved by fans. I know it's one of those that is clamored for animation or whatnot. I think the BBC is just holding out hope that they could find it, colorize the actual one, because again, when it comes to doing the animation, the thing that is the trickiest part is the constant costume changes, and this one features so many different costume changes, and that being Marco Polo. I find this one a really long one, and I'm glad that some people like it. I don't, but I'm glad that John Lucarotti has done a couple of good scripts. This is just not for me, but this is number 3 as voted by the fans on the timescales. Again, it's also because, what is it? The Roof of the World. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is a 7 episoder. And I feel, for me personally, I feel every single minute of every single episode. But again, I would not put that on my top 10 list. But I know, and I've heard from so many people on, if you'd like to, you can email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. You can tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. I've heard from so many people that I am wrong. This is, 1, 2, or 3 on a top 10 list. And it's not on my top 50 list. But yeah, to each their own. Number 2 actually is one that I've owned 2 different copies of this, and I've never watched either one of them. I probably should write that wrong one of these days. But that is Doctor Who and the Aztecs. This is, again, another John Lucarotti episode. It is heralded as probably one of the best Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who, First Doctor episodes out there. And I have not watched it. Again, it has nothing to do with if I went down, just to give you a hint, again, if I went down and just told you what I liked, what I didn't like, I've watched everything, even the 7th Doctor, and there's a lot of 7th Doctor episodes that I do not like. And I haven't, but the First Doctor is, I think, so gruff on TV. And that's, again, where I really enjoyed the William Russell, Peter Purves Companion Chronicles, because the modern writer has kind of made a reason for his gruffness, or has made him a little bit more sweeter on the side compared to as seen on TV. And so as I go through, so An Unearthly Child, of course, I've seen that episode, or those stories, the Daleks, of course, Edge of Destruction. I think that's a sneaky good one. I wish that one had a little bit more love than it actually does. Marco Polo, of course, I've listened to it. Keys of Marinus, yeah, I have 2 copies of that one too. The Aztecs, of course. The Sensorites, I have seen that one. It's okay. It starts off really good, and then I think it gets bogged down. Reign of Terror by Dennis Spooner. I've seen it. I own the DVD. And again, if you want nightmare fuel, the 2 episodes, one of the animation for the Doctor, whew, I will tell you, nightmare fuel right there. Planet of the Giants, yeah, I've seen that one. Dalek Invasion of Earth, yep. Rescue, yep. Romans, yep. Web Planet, yep. Crusades, no. I have not. I've been actually trying to get myself to read the book before I watch the Crusades. Space Museum, yes. The Chase, yes. So notice, I have so many of the Ian Chesterton years, but as I go to the non-Ian Chesterton years, Mythmaker, no. The Massacre, no. The Ark, I wish I could say no. The Savages, I've listened to the Savages a bunch of times. I just don't think it doesn't stick in my head for some reason, whatnot. Anyway, that's besides the point. Sorry. I was just going on about the Aztecs and my not excuse for not listening to or watching some of the classic First Doctor episodes, but just my rationale. So that the Aztecs had an 8.6 out of 10 as being voted on by the fans. And before we do, number 1, I want to throw in some honorable mentions. So these are on the outskirts of the top 10 or top 17, as Liam would probably have it. Number 11 is the Crusades. So I can't really speak to that. When I went to England, what was that, 2012? I had the opportunity of getting a signed book by whoever wrote the foreword to the Crusades. I'm not sure. They were at Forbidden Planet in downtown in Piccadilly. Missed the book signing. Could have gotten like one of those post-book signing things, but did not. So that's number 11. Number 12 on the list is The Masters of Luxor, which is a lost story. I like The Masters of Luxor. I think it would be probably an easier one to do out of all of everything. Well, possibly. I like it because, again, The Masters of Luxor is essentially the TARDIS arrives, gets a mysterious signal emanating from a seemingly dead world. And so you have this whole series of, the perfect one wants to be more than just will stop at nothing to achieve his goal. You have these very well described robots or whatnot. I really find The Master of Luxor being really good. Number 13, if it exists, would be The Companion Chronicles Quintus. Quintus takes that one of the lines from The Unearthly Child, and this is an adventure. So this is before Ian Chesterton. So actually, this could not have been included on the list, even if it was number 1, because I'm not doing the First Doctor. I'm doing Ian Chesterton, and Quintus does not feature Ian Chesterton. We have a freebie, which they've been able to sell this a bunch of times. I think I picked up for like $1 or something like that, and also I got it for free. But it is The Revenants. I've again not listened to it, but that would be the next one, number 13, because again Quintus could not be on there. And I'm just going to finish it off. The Wanderer, which, again, it's one of the historical ones. I've listened to it, but I don't recall it. It's a companion chronicle. And I'm just going to end up with one last one. And that one would be... Nope, that one doesn't feature Ian Chesterton at all. That is also pre... the doctor going to Totter's Lane. All right. This one is not good. Disagree with this one. Disagree. Anyway, this one, number 15, is Starborn. It is on a visit to early 20th century Earth. Vicky receives a warning. If she leaves the TARDIS, she will die. Unable to join her friends, Vicky is given an audience with a psychic called Violet. So again, this one would be one of those that might not be included on the list because this is basically a Vicky story. Companions are somewhere else. So I don't know if I could classify that one. All right, so let's look at for one last one. All right. This one. I'm glad this one was next because this one, after Starborn, this one, me and Liam totally agree, at least at the time. I've re-listened to it a bunch of times because I do like it. I also like the cover art. I bought this specifically for the cover art. That is the beauty of some of the early Companion Chronicles, is it has fantastic timepiece cover art, which isn't perfect, but what you would expect to see on the show. And that is The Sleeping City. And I love this one because to me and Liam totally agree. And I think he even reached out to the writer Ian Potter on Twitter years ago and was asking, like, I don't understand. Like, this was the trailer and this is the premise, which we're totally for. And it didn't meet up with what we were, the reason why we bought it. And so The Sleeping City is after traveling with the Doctor through time and space. Ian Chesterton is back in his own time, but the mystery of how he and Barbara Wright disappeared in the year 1963 has alerted the authorities, and both are suspected of being enemy agents in the Cold War. Ian protests his innocence and tells a story about traveling through time and space, and one adventure in particular, a visit to the city of Husk. So I really like this story. I wanted to like it even more. But again, I feel as though the trailer was one thing and it turned into something else. All right. So those are honorable mentions. So without further ado, the number one story featuring William Russell playing Ian Chesterton, the top 10 list, which is now 17, with a couple honorable mentions, about 37 now, is, and I'm so grateful that this one beat number 3 with a average score of 9.2, so almost 1 whole point higher than Marco Polo, is Farewell, Great Mastodon. Oh, this story, this is what Marco Polo should have been. This is a beautiful story. This is from the first Doctor box set. It is, features Farewell, Great Mastodon, as well as the Yellow Fragrance story. This is such a strong story. I love it so much. I've listened to it so many different times. I don't think I've listened to it in a while. I thoroughly enjoy this historic adventure. I think it is a super special story. It is very similar to Marco Polo. I just find that it is better than Marco Polo. So I would give this a 9.5. It's not a perfect 10, but it is so great. This is... Who writes this one? Who writes this? Is this... It says Nigel Fairs? Well, he's the one that adapted it. Anyway, I thoroughly love Farewell, Great Mastodon. I feel as though if you have not listened to it, I do strongly recommend that. I'm pretty sure that Big Finish will probably do some sort of remembrance savings bundle. The only reason I'm saying that, as day of recording, June 5th, 2024, Big Finish has just announced on Twitter, today we remember Carol and John, who we sadly lost on this day in 2012. Here is Carolyn at the recording of Dust Breeding in 2001. So I'm pretty sure if I were to, they were probably going to do some sort of remembrance bundle saving certain thing. I know they did it with, that Mary Melvin, they'll probably do that here. So just, take this list for what it's worth. I'd love to hear what is on your list of top 10 best Ian Chesterton, maybe not Ian Chesterton centric stories, but the stories that just feature him. Email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. You can tweet the show at Alhambra Podcast. DMs are open. And so with that, we will conclude this episode of the Dr. Alhambra Podcast, as we've basically been gone 3 for 3 so far this week in the first week of June. How's it going? Are you sick of me yet? Email the show, tweet the show, DM the show, leave a comment on the YouTube channel, because this episode can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can listen to the show right there and give us feedback there, because I'll tell you, I don't think Twitter is giving me feedback. I have no idea. The only time I ever get feedback is when it wants me to look at a tweet that, like, Katie Manning did. Not saying that I don't like that, but is somebody tweeting me and I don't know about it, because I have been included in some texts or tweets, and I actually had to check to see, like, what did people not like what I said? Even though I will tell you, I've probably been blocked or muted by so many people, because I on purpose do certain things for the sole purpose of getting blocked on Twitter by some people, because I feel as though people are, kind of like Dot and Bubble. It goes both ways. People just want to be in their bubble echo chamber. Now, it could be this the left bubble echo chamber. It could be the right bubble. I'm in the middle. I would like to be included in both echo chambers. But anyway, that's why they call it an echo chamber. So stay tuned for more Doctor Who goodness, including monthly Big Finish reviews, audio commentary, retro reviews, and beyond. Email the show again at Alhambra Audio, that is ALHAMBRA audio @gmail.com, or DM us on Twitter at Alhambra Podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading. And until next time, we will see you in time. You have been listening to the Doctor Who Alhambra Podcast. Doctor Who is owned and trademarked by the BBC. Doctor Who Alhambra is not affiliated with the BBC or Big Finish. No infringement is intended. Visit our website at alhambrapodcast.weebly.com or email the show at alhambraaudio@gmail.com. Tweet us at Alhambra Podcast. That is ALHAMBRA Podcast. Thank you.